A family in dire straits, grappling with the fragile health of their young son, embarked on a nation-spanning quest for a life-saving treatment after all local options had been exhausted. In their moment of acute desperation, they reached out to Donald Trump, a move that would soon captivate the entire country and spark a viral sensation. Their son, 3-year-old Andrew, was in urgent need of an experimental procedure that was only available at Schneider Children's Hospital in New York. However, the logistical nightmare of transporting the critically ill toddler from their West Coast home to the hospital seemed almost insurmountable. The Ten family, residing on the far side of the country, faced overwhelming odds. The medical and logistical communities seemed unable or unwilling to assist, viewing the risks as too great. Yet for Harold and Judy Ten, no risk was too large when it came to their son's survival. In a last-ditch effort to save their son, Harold and Judy decided to appeal to Donald Trump, the flamboyant real estate mogul known not just for his extravagant persona but also for his occasional acts of significant generosity. Encouraged by their close circle, in 1988 they sent a heartfelt plea to Trump, hoping against hope for a favorable response. Against their fears of being ignored by the larger-than-life figure, Trump's response came quickly and positively, without hesitation. He offered the use of his private Boeing 727-67 jet to transport Andrew from Los Angeles to New York. To the Tens, this was nothing less than a miracle, providing a vital lifeline for Andrew. Trump ensured that the jet was ready and equipped to meet Andrew's special medical needs, with a crew on standby prepared to handle the unique challenges of the journey. This remarkable act of kindness from one of the most controversial figures in modern history initially went unnoticed beyond the Ten family, who remembered it as a pivotal moment in their lives. Trump never used this story for political advantage, and it remained largely under the radar until it resurfaced nearly 3 decades later, capturing the hearts of people nationwide. Once this story re-emerged, it went viral, prompting a flurry of media interest as news archives were scoured to piece together the details of this incredible rescue mission. Take any opportunity, no matter how remote, to mitigate their son's suffering and potentially reverse his condition. The treatment, still in its experimental phase, offered a glimmer of hope to the desperate parents. However, the financial and logistical challenges of transporting Andrew from Los Angeles to New York seemed insurmountable. The costs were beyond their reach, and the complexity of traveling with a child dependent on constant medical support was daunting. It was during this fraught period that an unexpected benefactor emerged. Donald Trump, having heard of the Ten family's plight, offered his assistance in an act of altruism that would leave an indelible mark on the lives of Andrew and his parents. Trump provided his private jet to transport Andrew, his family, and the necessary medical team to New York, ensuring the child received care with no expense spared. This extraordinary gesture by Trump happened 3 decades ago, a time when he was primarily known as a businessman and television personality, long before his venture into politics as the President of the United States. His intervention was not only a testament to his willingness to help a family in dire need but also highlighted the unexpected kindness that can appear from those in positions of influence. Upon arriving in New York, Andrew underwent the experimental treatment at Schneider Children's Hospital. The medical team there worked diligently, using innovative techniques that were not available on the West Coast. This intervention marked a turning point in Andrew's health. Slowly, signs of improvement were observed, his breathing stabilized, and he began to regain some of the functions he had lost. The Ten family story, punctuated by a near-miraculous recovery facilitated by the support of Donald Trump, underscores the profound impact of generosity and empathy. It highlights how acts of kindness, especially from the most unlikely sources, can dramatically alter the course of an individual's life. It also serves as a poignant reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the critical role of community support in overcoming life's most formidable challenges. Upon accepting him as a patient, a beacon of hope was ignited for Harold and Judy, who had been desperately seeking help for their son Andrew. Their initial relief, however, was quickly overshadowed by the enormous challenge of transporting him nearly 3,000 miles from Los Angeles to New York. The journey required transporting Andrew along with vital medical equipment such as a portable oxygen tank and a suction machine. Moreover, Andrew needed continuous care from skilled nurses to monitor his condition and ensure all medical apparatus were operating correctly. In a surge of relief from securing the essential medical assistance, Harold and Judy began reaching out to various airlines, hoping to secure a flight to New York. However, each airline they contacted deemed it too risky to transport the critically ill child, plunging Harold and Judy into despair as their last hope to save their son seemed cruelly snatched away. With each passing day, Andrew's condition deteriorated, intensifying the urgency in their desperation. They reached out to Donald Trump for help. Remarkably, they received a positive response. Trump offered his private jet to transport Andrew to New York. When the jet arrived in Los Angeles, the crew immediately undertook the intricate task of preparing for Andrew's journey amidst a complex array of medical devices and attending caregivers. They meticulously ensured Andrew was secure and comfortable, transforming the jet's luxurious cabin into a makeshift medical facility where upscale seating contrasted sharply with the life-sustaining equipment, and the soft hum of the jet mingled with the beeps of medical monitors. For Harold and Judy, the flight was a surreal blend of fear and hope. During the longest 5 hours of their lives, sitting close to their son, they dared to hope that the medical treatment awaiting in New York could potentially transform their lives. A dream they clung to since the terrifying day Andrew first experienced severe respiratory issues. Over the years, they had encountered nothing but skepticism from medical professionals and outright rejections from airlines that hesitated to take on the liability of transporting such a critically ill child. Trump's singular act of kindness, requiring nothing in return, was something they knew they could never fully repay. Upon their arrival in New York, a medical team was immediately ready to expedite Andrew's transfer to the hospital, ensuring no time was wasted. This marked the beginning of a new chapter. Filled with renewed hope and profound gratitude for the unexpected generosity that had been extended to them, Andrew was transferred to Schneider Children's Hospital, a pivotal moment marked by both urgency and hope. As he was moved from the airplane to the waiting ambulance, his grandparents, who had traveled to be by his side, watched with tear-filled eyes. Witnessing their grandson, fragile yet resilient, stirred profound emotions within them. As they were painfully aware of the critical nature of every passing moment, the entire family, unified in their concern, gathered in support of Andrew, clinging to hope and determination. Upon his arrival at Schneider, a new chapter began in Andrew's arduous fight for survival. It was a significant turning point that, for the first time during this harrowing ordeal, allowed his parents to dare hope for a future. They had spent agonizing years living from one moment to the next, fraught with uncertainty about what the future held. Only now did they begin to recognize their own deep-seated exhaustion, having been buoyed thus far by their unwavering faith and mutual love, which had been their solace during these isolating and trying years. The staff at Schneider Children's Hospital quickly became more than just medical providers. They were allies in the family's journey, offering support that seemed to lighten the burdensome load and hinted at a possible improvement in Andrew's condition. After undergoing treatment in New York, which provided temporary relief, there seemed a glimmer of hope that a miracle might be within reach. Andrew, though still critically ill, showed subtle signs of improvement, surpassing any progress he had made in years. Harold and Judy, Andrew's parents, were heartened by these developments. The efforts to bring him to this renowned facility now appeared justified, and they held tightly to the hope that he might defy the overwhelming odds, especially given the exceptional care he was receiving. For many years, life continued in this vein. The family had adjusted to a new normal, one not dominated by constant fear. When the unthinkable happened, despite the relentless efforts of his medical team and the unwavering support from his family, Andrew's condition did not improve as hoped. After a decade-long battle with his illness, Andrew sadly passed away. His death was a devastating blow to his family, who had devoted themselves tirelessly to his care. In the wake of this immense loss, Harold and Judy were determined to honor Andrew's memory. They established Camp Abraham Moshe, a summer camp located in Los Angeles for Jewish teens and young adults with special needs, named after Andrew's Hebrew name. The camp was designed to offer a safe, enjoyable environment for children facing their own unique challenges. Camp Abraham Moshe featured a variety of activities, including swimming, horseback riding, and arts and crafts, all within a nurturing and supportive Jewish community. This initiative not only commemorated Andrew's life but also created a legacy of compassion and support for others facing similar challenges. Harold and Judy had always dreamed of a place where their son could thrive and flourish. A dream that was embodied by the very environment they had longed for him to experience. Throughout their ordeal, the Tens consistently remembered the compassion extended to them by Donald Trump with deep appreciation. They firmly believed that Trump epitomized the Talmudic principle that saving a single life is akin to saving the entire world. In their view, Trump's actions demonstrated the actions of a man who deeply grasped the importance of life-preserving efforts. The profound sorrow that any parent feels over the loss of a child is a deeply human response to a severe tragedy, a comfort that others had failed to provide. When many had refused to help, Trump had stepped in without a second thought. Even though Andrew eventually passed away, the Tens were eternally thankful that Trump's intervention had granted them additional precious years with their son. Years that would have been unattainable without the specialized medical treatment available in New York. For years, this act of silent philanthropy remained largely unnoticed, only making minor headlines at the time and remembered by those directly involved. Trump, who often finds himself in the spotlight, rarely spoke of this incident. He had offered to help the family without expecting anything in return, as their distress was not a stepping stone for his political gain. This episode was briefly mentioned in his 2000 book, The America We Deserve. But it soon faded into obscurity. It wasn't until Trump's presidential campaign in 2015, nearly 3 decades later, that the story resurfaced. Media outlets, eager to publish anything about the candidate, began to recirculate an old article from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency detailing the events of 1988, initially without clarifying that these events had occurred so long ago. The story quickly caught the attention of a global audience, with many surprised that Trump, known for his directness and often contentious remarks, had engaged in such an altruistic act. Some viewed it as proof that even the most polarizing figures can demonstrate compassion and possess a thoughtful side. The full realization that these events had taken place nearly 30 years earlier only propelled the story to go viral, with many praising Trump for not using this act of kindness to gain favor with voters. As the narrative spread, it sparked a broader discourse on Trump's character, prompting individuals from various backgrounds to consider what this incident indicated about the man who would eventually become the 45th President of the United States. It also cast a light on media practices, illustrating how easily facts can be manipulated. Many were initially misled into believing that a recent event had sparked a wave of criticism towards Donald Trump, accusing him of leveraging his philanthropy as a tactic in his political campaign. However, upon discovering the true timeline of events, this narrative led some to question the media's credibility. For the Tens family, however, the focus had never been on politics or maintaining a public image. The events that unfolded back in 1988, long before Trump harbored any ambitions for the presidency, revolved purely around a moment of human kindness. During a time of acute need for the Tens, Donald Trump was the one who consistently answered their calls for help. This act of generosity was something for which the family would forever hold deep appreciation, regardless of his later political endeavors. The resurgence of this story not only marked a significant moment for the family as they remembered Andrew, years after his passing, but it also opened a window for the world to engage with his story, allowing his memory to be honored a little longer. Through Andrew's story, the narrative showcased a side of Trump far removed from the commonly portrayed media image. The global audience was now privy to a more compassionate and gentle side of the man who once aspired to lead the nation, revealing a dimension of his character previously unseen by many. Now, it's your turn. What are your thoughts on this narrative? Are you aware of any other subtle acts of kindness performed by celebrities? We would love to hear your views, so please post a comment below. Next, let's continue to see another similar story, as Jay Barrett, a once vibrant and spirited man, lay weak and depleted on his hospital bed. He was enveloped by the steady, rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. The room was washed in the rich, golden hues of the setting sun, creating a solemn atmosphere punctuated only by Jay's labored breathing, signaling that his time was nearing an end. Having come to terms with his fate, Jay was not alone. Beside him were his daughter Bridget, her husband, and their young daughter, all bearing expressions of deep sorrow and grief. Bridget had brought her family to say their final goodbyes to her father. The air was thick with the inevitability of loss as they gazed upon Jay's frail figure on the bed. "Well, I guess this is it," Jay whispered faintly, managing a weak smile, his voice barely above a whisper. Bridget, fighting to hold back her tears, replied, "Don't talk like that, Dad, you're breaking my heart." The painful thought of possibly never seeing her father again was overwhelming. "I've lived a full life, haven't I?" Jay asked. Bridget, with tears streaming down her face, nodded silently, squeezing his hand to offer some comfort in his final moments. Their young daughter, only 5 years old, also placed her tiny hands gently on Jay, staying close to her grandfather. Jay had always been a resilient soul, tackling life's challenges with steadfast determination and courage. Yet, as he lay there, the stark reality hit him. There was no fight left. He was ready for what was to come, as the minutes slowly passed. Jay closed his eyes, bracing for the end. However, just as a profound stillness filled the room, something unexpected happened. His phone, which had been silent on the bedside table for weeks, suddenly began to ring. Bridget and her daughter exchanged puzzled looks before turning their gaze to Jay, who was equally astonished. Who could be calling at such a time? Jay wondered, his curiosity momentarily rekindled. With a trembling hand, he reached for the phone and answered, "Hello." His voice weak and hoarse. Bridget watched her father intently, curious about the caller. "Is this Jay?" "It's Donald Trump," announced the voice from the other end. For a moment, Jay thought it was a joke. "Oh, is it really?" he responded, initially doubting the authenticity of the call. Even as his energy dwindled, Jay managed to chuckle from his deathbed, retaining his sense of humor until the very end. Bridget and her daughter shared a smile as laughter echoed from the other end of the phone line. "I was told you're quite the comedian." "They were right," said the person on the call, the familiarity of the voice becoming apparent. Jay, momentarily silent, was trying to ascertain if the voice was indeed who he thought it was. His eyes widened in shock as he recognized the unmistakable voice of Donald Trump. Realizing that this was no prank, and that it was indeed the then-president himself on the call, Jay was jolted back to reality. "Yes, sorry," he coughed, "I thought it was a prank." Summoning his remaining strength, he motioned for his daughter to draw nearer to listen, and she obliged. He then switched the phone to speaker mode. "Jay, it's Donald Trump." The voice confirmed, "I've heard about your situation and wanted to personally reach out. You're my kind of man, Jay. I'm very proud of you." Jay's eyes brimmed with tears as he absorbed the words. Having been a staunch supporter, he was deeply touched by Trump's words. This phone call from someone Jay had admired his entire life was overwhelming. His smile was radiant, spreading joy to his daughter and granddaughter. Within a few minutes, the profound impact of this heartfelt conversation from a steadfast supporter on his deathbed was evident, bringing everyone to the brink of tears. Jay Barrett had always been a man of strong convictions. Born and raised in a small town in Ohio, he had lived his life with a firm sense of purpose and national pride. This pride had led him to serve in the military as a young man, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather. The values of duty, honor, and patriotism had been deeply ingrained in him from childhood, guiding every decision he made throughout his life. He was unshakable in his belief that his country was the finest in the world, often finding himself at odds with others over this belief. When Donald Trump first announced his presidential candidacy, Jay was immediately drawn to his message of "America First," which resonated with his own long-held belief in a strong, independent nation. His admiration for Trump only grew from there. Trump's bold approach, his readiness to speak his mind, and his pledge to disrupt the status quo meant that Jay saw him as the leader America needed. Jay became an ardent supporter, his fervor for Trump's vision only intensifying over time. In the aftermath of his military service, Jay found a new purpose in the political arena, becoming an ardent supporter of Donald Trump, a development that many had anticipated. He threw himself wholeheartedly into the political scene, frequently attending rallies, volunteering at campaign events, and wearing his red "Make America Great Again" hat with pride wherever he went. His fervent political engagements made him a well-known figure in his community, always ready to discuss politics and ardently defend the president's policies, despite his community involvement. Jay's intense political beliefs began to create a rift in his personal life, especially with his daughter, Bridget. Bridget had been the light of Jay's life, particularly after the sudden death of his wife, Mary, years earlier. However, as Bridget grew older, her political views began to diverge significantly from those of her father. While she was open to hearing diverse opinions and engaging in constructive dialogues, Jay remained steadfast and inflexible in his beliefs. Often dismissing any opposing viewpoints, the tension between them reached a peak when Bridget unexpectedly fell in love with and married someone whose family supported one of Trump's political adversaries. Jay's reaction was one of anger and disappointment, which only worsened the strain on their relationship. The political debates at family gatherings became increasingly acrimonious, leading to frequent and intense arguments. As the disagreements escalated, the relationship between Jay and Bridget deteriorated to the point where they stopped speaking to one another after a particularly fierce dispute. This period of silence was painful but appeared to be the only solution to their ongoing conflict. As the years passed, the emotional distance between them only grew, with each harboring feelings of hurt and misunderstanding. Jay missed his daughter deeply but allowed his pride and stubbornness to prevent him from reaching out. Bridget, too, longed for reconciliation but hesitated, fearing her father's political views might still overshadow their relationship. Despite her husband's encouragement to mend ties, Jay convinced himself that Bridget had prioritized politics over family. But deep down, he recognized that his own unwillingness to compromise had driven her away. Time moved on, and Jay's health began to decline when he was diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer. As his condition worsened, he found himself confined to his bed, a shadow of the vibrant and active man he once was. In his moments of frailty and solitude, Jay reflected on his life choices and the precious relationship he had lost with his daughter. Facing the stark reality of his mortality, Jay began to see life differently. The political disagreements that had once seemed so crucial now appeared trivial in the face of his impending death. Filled with regret, he wished he had been more open to others' perspectives and made efforts to bridge the gap with Bridget. In this introspective state, Jay realized the futility of the years of silence with his daughter. He regretted not allowing space for dialogue and understanding, and he yearned for a chance to reconnect and express his love. Hoping it was not too late to heal the wounds of the past, Jay deeply missed his daughter Bridget, yearning for her vibrant laughter, her radiant smile, and the affectionate, admiring way she once looked at him. The harrowing thought of passing away without mending their strained relationship weighed heavily on him. Overcome with emotion one day as he lay in bed, Jay realized that he needed to overcome his pride and reach out to her. Despite the potential difficulties, Bridget was his only child, and he regretted that his unwavering political beliefs had driven a wedge between them, making her feel alienated from his life. Upon learning that she now had a daughter, his desire grew stronger to reconnect and spend his remaining days with his daughter and the granddaughter he had yet to meet. With trembling hands, Jay picked up the phone from his bedside table, dialed Bridget's number, and anxiously awaited her reaction. Unsure if she would even pick up or forgive him, to his relief, when Bridget answered and recognized her father's frail, tearful voice, the years of anger and resentment seemed to melt away. Jay apologized profusely, his voice laden with emotion, and Bridget, also tearful, expressed how much she had missed him and had been longing for this reconciliation. From that day forward, Bridget, along with her husband and daughter, made it a point to visit Jay daily. His once quiet home, which had been haunted by the echoes of lost time, was now filled with the sounds of laughter and lively conversations. Every time Jay watched his granddaughter playing at the foot of his bed, her innocent laughter brought him a sense of warmth and joy that he hadn't felt in years. He was immensely grateful for the opportunity to mend his relationship with his daughter before it was too late. Even as his health declined, Jay continued to support Trump. But having repaired his relationship with Bridget, he had become more open-minded and could appreciate that people had diverse views on life's policies. He still wore his MAGA cap daily, which now triggered laughter and playful teasing from Bridget. She even bought MAGA and Democratic Party caps for herself, playfully bridging the gap between their past political disagreements. While Bridget disagreed with her father's resignation to his fate, She worked tirelessly with her husband to explore medical options for Jay's health. They consulted numerous doctors, but none could offer hopeful news. Gradually, Bridget had to come to terms with the reality that her father's health was in rapid decline, and according to medical professionals, he had only weeks, if not days, left. She made it her priority to ensure his final days were filled with family, love, and understanding. Bridget cherished every moment she could spend with her father during this critical period. Her husband, Mike, was keenly aware of his father-in-law's unwavering support for Donald Trump. Understanding the significance of this support, and knowing it had even caused tension between Jay and his daughter, Mike decided to take a respectful and supportive action, leveraging his political connections. Mike composed a heartfelt letter to President Trump. In the letter, he conveyed the emotional toll that Jay's steadfast backing of Trump had taken, highlighting the familial strain it had caused. With great respect, he requested that if President Trump could find the time, a visit or any form of acknowledgement would significantly enhance the quality of Jay's final days. With little expectation of a reply, Mike sent the letter, motivated by a desire to create a meaningful experience for his father-in-law, driven by his deep love for his wife. To his surprise, President Trump responded promptly. Though he was unable to visit in person, he expressed a desire to speak with Jay over the phone and requested his contact information. Without hesitation, Mike provided it. The moment Jay received a phone call from President Trump himself was surreal for both him and Mike. As Jay engaged in conversation with the president, whom he had long admired for his resilience and his dedication to American priorities, he was filled with immense gratitude. Struggling to find the words, Jay stuttered, "Mr. Trump, I don't know what to say. Thank you, sir. This means more to me than you'll ever know." "You don't have to say anything," replied President Trump. "Just know that your support has made a difference. People like you are the backbone of this country, and I'm proud to have had your support. Stay strong, okay?" Inspired by Trump's encouraging words, Jay felt a renewed sense of vitality that had been missing in recent days. He couldn't believe he was speaking with the president, a man he had so passionately supported. Overwhelmed with joy, Jay managed a genuine smile, laughed softly, and playfully pinched his daughter Bridget's arm, making her squeal in surprise. With a light chuckle, he reassured her, "I was just checking to make sure I wasn't dreaming." His words mingling with the laughter that filled the room. The atmosphere in the room was electric, charged with an infectious joy that caused Bridget to shed tears as she witnessed her father brimming with happiness, a rare sight. Moved by his wife's emotional display, Mike embraced her tightly, savoring the moment and holding back his own tears. "Well, Mr. President, I never imagined receiving a call from you would be possible," Jay continued, his voice thick with emotion and gratitude. As Jay lay on his deathbed, he received a startling yet heartwarming phone call that seemed to momentarily revive his fading spirit. On the other end of the line was none other than President Trump, who expressed his regret for not being able to visit in person. With sincere words, Trump promised Jay that if he could hold on for just a few more days, he would make it a priority to visit him. This unexpected call infused the room with a melancholic yet comforting warmth. As Jay's family listened intently, witnessing a noticeable spark return to his eyes, an expression of joy that had been missing for far too long. Despite his physical frailty, Jay's spirit momentarily soared as Trump continued to speak, offering words of encouragement and appreciation. Clinging to every word, Jay felt a profound sense of gratitude and fulfillment wash over him. His life, which had been a tapestry of challenges and victories, now seemed beautifully complete. Mike had been right. This surprise interaction with a figure Jay had long admired from afar was the ideal epilogue to his eventful and meaningful life. As the conversation drew to a close, Jay gently placed the phone back on the table, his face adorned with a peaceful smile. He turned to look at his family, who managed smiles through their tears. Addressing his daughter, Bridget, as she and her family drew near, he whispered, "My dear, life always has surprises up its sleeve, even until the very end." His voice was frail, and as he spoke, he was enveloped by a profound sense of peace. "I now have no regrets," he declared, his breaths becoming shallower as he squeezed his daughter's hand. A hushed silence filled the room, now laden with peace and love. with his eyes closed and a content smile on his lips, Jay had offered his final farewells and made peace with the most significant relationships in his life. He was ready to depart. His final days had unfolded more beautifully and unexpectedly than he could have ever envisioned, as Bridget felt the warmth slowly leave his hand. The room settled back into stillness. Her father had been a resilient man throughout his life, and now, in his final moments, he was truly at peace. Bridget leaned down to kiss his forehead, a silent goodbye passing between them. It was time to let go. What a heart-wrenching story. What are your thoughts on the story? Did it move you to tears at any point? Share your reactions in the comments section below. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.